let me rephrase that. Don't cross your feet in front of your opponent's legs. If you're on the side and you want to cross your feet and I can't get to it with my legs, that's fine. If you cross your legs in front of your partner here, they're gonna put that crossbar leg lock on you, here, okay? And they can break your legs a lot faster than you can choke them unconscious, okay? Now, if you're caught here, there's a very simple escape. What Zach's gonna do is he's gonna let go and he's gonna push here. Now I can't extend, therefore I can't put any pressure here, and then he starts to get his legs out, okay? So number one, don't cross your legs, but number two, in the event of you your opponent defends a body lock or whatever, or you do get caught in it, what you're gonna do is you're gonna let go and you're gonna prevent me from extending, okay? So just keep that in the back of your mind, right? Now let's go to the actual escapes. We're gonna go to the weak side, the underhook side first. Priority number one, before we escape, what do we have to do? What comes before escape? Survival, correct. So we're gonna survive first. What's my biggest threat from here? His arm, right? That rear naked choke side. So if I can, I'm not gonna fall to the side that has a rear naked choke. I'm gonna fall to the underhook side. That being said, if he's trying to choke me with his right arm, my left arm with the thumb is gonna come down on the wrist here. My right hand is gonna hook his forearm here. Generally speaking, I always wanna keep a 2-on-1 grip, okay? When you escape a position, think of creating two things: misalignment and a disconnection. He's connected to me right now and he's aligned to me. We're eventually gonna start breaking both his connection and his alignment. So I've solidified the grip 2-on-1 here. I fell to the weak side. Number one, my goal is to get my head to the other side of his head. So if you hear me yell beat the head, that means I want you to take your head from one side of his head to the other side here. The reason being is here he can choke me, right? But if I get his choking arm and his head on the same side, now it's a lot harder for him to choke me. Not impossible, but really hard. So after I've frozen the grip and I fall to the weak side, number one, beat the head, boom. From here, now I have to beat the bottom leg. Do not use your top arm to beat the bottom leg because you're giving him a straitjacket right here. He's gonna throw his right heel over your leg and now you just screwed yourself. Okay, so what you're gonna do is after you beat the head, you're gonna take your bottom arm and you're gonna attack his foot to get it to get the hook off, or you're gonna use your top leg to push his hook off here, preferably with the legs, but if you have to, you're gonna use the arms. After you get rid of that bottom hook to the floor, your bottom leg is gonna come over, and now I do two things at once. I start to sit my hips over his leg as I start to get that top side elbow between me and Zach here. Okay, look, I've created a misalignment with him, right? He's no longer behind me. Number two, I've also created a disconnect. This frame is my biggest piece of disconnect between me and my opponent. Once you get this to the floor, it's gonna be very hard for him to take an advantageous position. Worst case scenario, if your opponent starts to mount you, you're gonna use that frame to push him into the half guard here. Best case scenario, if I break his grip, I'm gonna push that far arm away from me so I can end up on top position. Okay, so let's do a little magic to escape safely. Freeze the grip. I unfortunately got manipulated to the strong side. Instead of ditching the bottom leg, now I'm gonna ditch the top leg. Okay, from here, I clear the top leg, I get my own top leg out, and now my goal is to turtle. When you turtle, I'm seeing a lot of guys like having your knees away from the body, you're gonna get flattened out. Knees tight to your chest, and you start to turtle. When my opponent climbs on top, I'm gonna use that momentum against them. Again, do not let them get that second hook in. From here, again, imagine I didn't stop in the middle. As I turtle and my opponent goes to follow, I'm gonna continue the roll. And now, they come to the other side. Look where I've ended up. I've actually ended up on the quote unquote weak side with my leg already out, with my head already beat. Now we just continue on to the first technique. I scoot my hips out, get my frame in between me and my opponent. If I can break the grip, I'm gonna end up on top. If not, I settle for the half guard on the bottom. Okay? So again, about 1/4 of the way through, it actually turns in to the first technique we did. Okay, we just got to add an extra rotation to get out of danger for falling to the strong side. So again, I'll try not to stop in the middle this time. Try to do a little bit less explaining and more showing. From here, I freeze the grip. I got manipulated to the strong side, right? Yeah, he's doing everything right, so I don't want to go for the bottom side this time. I can clear the top side, turtle, as my opponent climbs on top. I continue that rotation until I found myself manipulating my opponent to the weak side. My leg's already out. I've already beaten the head. Now I'm going to scoot out, get my frame in between me and my opponent, and manipulate him into get whatever kind of guard position or top position I can handle. Manages to beat you to the punch and starts to mount you, okay? That frame that you had in between you and your opponent is gonna be an extra great investment at this point. So again, you're doing everything right. You froze the grip, you fell to the weak side, right? You beat the head, right? You beat the bottom leg. You're doing everything right, right? You're turning out away from your opponent. You're getting this in between you and your opponent, but your opponent got the drop on you and they start mounting you here, right? This arm, let me turn you this way a little bit. This arm is paired with their momentum is gonna give you a chance to escape. So rewind one step right before you come up into mount. So we're right about here. I start realizing that his hips are getting high and the high hip wins, so he's gonna mount me, right? I'm gonna reinforce my frame here. Everybody sees my hand, right? My right arm is framing across his hip, my left arm is reinforcing, here. Where's his weight right now in terms of his legs? Which leg is bearing his weight? His left leg. So in order to mount me, he's gotta get his right knee heavy on the mat, right? I'm gonna use that against him, go slow. As he starts to mount me, I'm actually gonna bridge into him and send him the and send him the opposite way to make space. Now that I've made space, I can start bringing my limbs inside to recover the guard, okay? So let's go over that again from the beginning. We'll go a little bit faster this time to make it a little bit more realistic. But again, you're not fighting the position. If you can prevent him from mounting you and get your legs in, great. But if he's already past your legs and beating you to the punch, go with the flow, right? Go with the flow. Freeze the grip, fall to the weak side, beat the head, beat the bottom leg. I start turning into my opponent. He starts to mount me here. He beat me to the punch. Go ahead, mount. Here, I'm framing and I'm pushing away. See this space? That's all I need to get my hips out and start making limbs. Start making frames, I should say, between me and my opponent. But it all starts with that close side block, right? And then as he starts to mount me, I'm reinforcing that frame. His knee touches the ground. I bridge into it and then I shrimp away from it to get my legs in. Sorry, I should demonstrate that again. I bridge into it and then shrimp away from it. So again,